You're listening to the Art of Quantum Healing podcast with your host, Leisa Nadler. Each week we'll be welcoming divine souls who have overcome trauma, mental health addiction, and found next level abundance through mind, body, and soul connection. We will be going deep on one subject to teach and guide you. My mission is to help you high vibe, thrive with inner peace, passion, and purpose, all in the name of evolution. Welcome to another episode of the Art of Quantum Healing. Today I have a divine guest on. We've just been talking before this and we're like, shit, we better hurry up and get on to this interview. The beautiful Samantha J. And we're going to be going deep on neuroscience, shamanism, and sacred sexuality. And I'm just going to read a little bit about Samantha before she comes in and says hello to you all. Samantha J, I love that name, Samantha J. I always wanted like a quirky name like that, you know? Samantha J is an award-winning entrepreneur, best-selling author, and soulful speaker. A business empress who merges spirituality and entrepreneurship to help women and men make a meaningful impact on the world. After leading her family business to 8 figures by the age of 21, well friggin' done, Samantha embarked on a journey of soul discovery that helped her embody her divine femininity and masculinity and step into her personal power. While traveling to over 25 countries, oh my God, you must miss that, Samantha refined her gift as a medicine woman alongside leading authorities in neuroscience, shamanism, and sacred sexuality. Samantha works with entrepreneurs to help them harness their zone of genius and realize their ultimate potential in life, business, and relationship. How much did that roll off the tongue? Beautiful.
You know, it's actually a bit of a tongue tie, that whole bio. There's many S's and you did well.
Thank you. Usually I hiccup somewhere and I always find it, for some reason, my tongue can't get over the word femininity. It just seems to have that little block in it.
It is. The same, you know, actually the most nerve-wracking thing for me in recording a podcast is that little bio at the start. You know, because I'm always the tongue tie, the femininity. Somehow it has, yeah.
You need someone to give you a kick in the back. Oh, there you go. So welcome, gorgeous. I'm so excited to have you here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. So what I would really love to kick off each episode with is just so the audience can get to feel into your beautiful energy and your soul and your heart. I'd love you just to share a little bit of your journey to how you got to where you are now and how you're on this path, because so many people are like, wow, from 8 figures to you know, to what you're doing now with the shamanism and opening it all up and the sacred sexuality, and wow, you know, here you are now sitting in front this beautiful awakened goddess, or empress actually. I love that word, empress. It's so beautiful. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, well, you know, so my journey, it actually first started really with mental illness and having experienced sexual abuse and having a lot of trauma. So whilst today I kind of sit here as this award-winning entrepreneur and I've written a lot of books and I help a lot of people, it's taken so many dark days in order to be able to get here. I'm sure with all your listeners and everybody that's in that quantum healing space, we all have our own journey of our dark night of the soul. So for me, it was around the age of 18, 19, that I was given this mental health diagnosis of borderline personality disorder and bipolar disorder. And really what that was is this unresolved sexual abuse trauma that I had experienced as a young girl and then into my adult life. And there was this point where, you know, I was going to go off to university, get a business degree. And my dad's like, you know what, like he chucked me a phone book. He gave me a desk in the corner of my bedroom. And he said, you know, he could see that the medication I was on, I could hardly function 3 days a week. So he said, you know what, give it a crack. So I took on my family's property development company, and in a few short years, like just using my HSC business and economics stuff I knew, I took it to 8 figures throughout that time. And entrepreneurship really became my quest to get well. I saw this group of people and I saw how I could reinvent the property development industry there. And it gave me a reason to get up and out of bed every day when I really didn't feel like I had any value for the world. And as I stood for this purpose greater than myself and this group of people, and I started to realize, shit, I'm pretty good at this, my confidence started to come back. But what happened over time is I guess I realized that I'd been doing all of that for the wrong reasons. You know, I'd been doing it to prove myself. Deep down inside, I didn't feel enough. And I ended up at 22 with this award-winning entrepreneur career only to kind of become suicidal and realize, shit, that, you know, I've made this external life a success, but what I'm really missing is this internal life a success. And yeah, and that's when, you know, I went through this next level of dark night of the soul, and a shaman came into my life after a few days or weeks where I kind of said, you know, if something doesn't intervene, I'm going to end my life, because it, like, I guess I had just been focusing so much on this external world of success that inside I felt completely empty and lonely and just,
Yeah.
and so this shaman came into my life, and when he came into my life, that was the start of getting off the mental illness medication, realizing I didn't have a mental illness. I was like a sensitive and an empath and a gifted in all the ways.
You had a
And
hunter
I,
mind, that's why you were so ADD, like,
yeah.
yeah, totally, yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not a bad person. And I started to then train, and I went and traveled, you know, to over 25 different countries, learning with the world's most renowned energy medicine school, and refined my gift as a medicine woman. And after doing that, when all of this kind of pandemic and all the stuff happened 2 years ago, just before that, actually, I'd moved back to Australia from South Africa where I was living. And so over the last few years, I've been kind of bringing together these worlds of entrepreneurship and medicine woman, so that we can actually build empires that merge spirituality and business. And that's now how I've arrived here in a short snippet.
And then, and then also bringing in the science of the neurological, you know, the pathways
Yes.
and all that sort of thing, because science, when science and spirituality meet, it's a very interesting thing, isn't it? Because so many little pieces fall into place.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. And that's why I'm so glad that I, you know, received that mental illness, that I went down that path, because what I had to learn is an alternative form of healing that also became an alternative form of like living in this reality, being awakened in this reality, and also being able to create as a business entrepreneur. So
Yeah.
I talk about, rather than focusing on the external, focus on the internal. Now that we understand neuroplasticity and some of these different things, you know, we don't have to be limited by time and space.
And we also don't get looked at so much like we're weirdos.
Yeah.
You start
Yeah.
talking about woo woo, you're like, oh, here goes the hippie chick again. No,
Yes.
hang on a minute, let me teach you. I mean,
Yeah.
I think what happened with you, you know, you made that congratulations on really going hard and making all that beautiful money and realizing, well, that's actually not fulfilling me. I've actually got to do the inner work. And so many entrepreneurs hit this space where they're always in lack of, because they're always trying to reach the next figure and the next amount and the next big shiny thing and the next goal and the next blah 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 to fill themselves internally, when they're never going to unless they actually do the inner work. And I think that is just huge. When I did ayahuasca, that was a huge thing that was brought into me, that all this doesn't matter. That all this
Yeah.
doesn't, it's all about in here. And I think a lot of people live constantly in lack of before of it. And you would know this from you know, coaching so many entrepreneurs and being in that space. And so how do you help them move through that space? How do you help them go, well shit, even if I do get the next shiny toy, it's not going to fulfill me. It's not.
Yeah.
How do you help them to understand that what they need to
Yeah.
do within them?
I think this is like the number one conversation that is at the core of the disharmony that creates all the shit in the world. Is this
Totally.
imbalance of the masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I wrote a book about it, because I like, and it's called Stand Up, Speak Up. I have the whole conversation in that book. You can check it out on Amazon. But pretty much what I do is I talk about that they actually have to take the journey inwards within themselves and ask themselves, what are the needs that they're trying to get from the business or from the relationship? And it's like, I have a need to like feel enough. I have a need for validation. I have a need to be seen. I have a need to be heard. And what we do is we take this journey of taking the inner child to start to show them how to fill that up from within themselves, so that they're full on their own love now. And from that place, then we get to go into the next part, which is about having a level of a sense of inner peace with who you are here today.
Yeah.
So actually, if you can learn to see that, like, you've got a lot of flaws, every single one of us do. We've got a lot of fears, we've got a lot of doubts, we've got a lot of shitty parts about all of us. Like, if you're not willing to like engage and honestly engage in the full package of who you are, the flaws, the insecurities, the fears, the doubts, you've got to learn to accept that that's a part of you and may always be a part of you. And if you can come to peace with all of that, the strengths and what I call the imposter, then you can maintain that sense of connection with who you are here today with acceptance, whilst having a foot in your heart's desires and that part of you that's going to constantly be like, nothing's ever good enough. And that part of you is going to want to have a desire for something you currently don't have because it's connecting you to your potential. And if you can maintain balance with both, then that's how you have that inner sense of like, I'm whole, I'm complete.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think that I love that, but the thing that we need to realize is, and I say this a lot, is we're actually a soul having a human experience. You actually need to feel it all. You need to see it all. You need to, as you said, the fears and all the different things that are happening. It's part of you. So I think a big time for me is when I realized when I kept chasing all these big shiny things and numbers, is when I actually stepped back and went, you know what, if I stripped it away, would I be happy? And no, I wouldn't have been. I would have been fucking miserable. I would have been in the basket case, and take away all my coping mechanisms and take away all the things that would, and for me, work, because I went from drugs and alcohol to work and I was just go, go, go. That was my next addiction apart from fitness.
Yeah.
I have that one because I love it. So when you can take away the things that are actually keeping you from not seeing what you need to see, it can also be scary for people. And I know that, as I said, you coach people in this aspect. So how would you say to somebody who's starting to think, well, yeah, she's right, this is hitting all the ticks, what she's saying is, oh my God, yeah, what do I do? Where do I go? What do I do? How do I do this? Because I love what I have, but I don't want to lose it because I've worked so hard.
Yeah.
But I know I've got to change.
Well, it's not even that what we're doing necessarily may change. It's just the intent and energy behind why we're doing it. So, if you can start to ask yourself, what are the needs that I get from doing it? And if you can start to give that to yourself first and foremost, then the energy behind what you're doing is going to change. So it's like, I love fitness too. And so when I go to the gym, I'm like, well, what do I get from going to the gym? And there was a time where I actually had a need for control that I got from going to the gym, where I needed to control the shape of my body. I needed to control all these different things. And so I started to ask myself, what would it feel like to let go of that control? Like, what would be there if I let go of that? And it's emotions, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's like, so I've got this addiction to fitness because I have a need for control. And if I let go of that, what am I afraid to see and experience as part of me? And it's like, fuck, I can't deal with all these fucking feelings. And it's like, okay, well then how about if I just start to figure out another way that maybe I can start to feel my feelings in my day, whether that's 5-10 minutes, even just checking in. And then what that would do is it would give a little bit less rigidity in the fitness area. So then on the days where you're like, you know what, I'm burnt out, like, oh my God, I'm sick, then you go, wait a second, what am I going to have to face by letting go of that? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to have to face my need for control. And I give people sacred geometry. So at that point, what I'd say is okay, close your eyes. And I would say, and then they would honor, I need to feel always in control, and that's okay. I'm going to accept that there's a level of fear inside of me right now. Okay. I'm going to acknowledge my normal limitation here, which is I have to like exercise at the same time every single day. I'm just going to accept that this is a part of me and that's okay. And what happens is as we just accept it, it's like then our range of choices around it becomes more, which is cool. Like we don't, and then we might go to the gym, but we're going to be a little bit more flexible on the days where if we went, it would probably burn us out and not be that loving.
Do you think that opens you up to a wider frequency or sets you into a new frequency?
Yeah.
Vibration? Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm now more healthier and more focused at the gym. And also in my business, I can do more. And the reason for that is because I don't need as much control from the gym. And I also don't need as much validation for my business. So it's really interesting when we break that needing it, we actually, now I'm healthier.
Yeah.
by doing this. And I actually go to the gym and exercise more in healthy, different ways that are great for my body. And I feel I'm eating better. But when I had the need for control, I would control, but then I'd go into shame, guilt, force, then I'd splurge food. So it does. Yeah, you're exactly right.
You know what? The biggest message I got when I was sitting on was like, oh, I want to see myself on a horse. I want to see myself, like eagles. And the biggest thing I got was relinquish control. And I'm like, what? I'm not controlling. Oh, fuck, yes, you are. And when
I'm so controlling.
So bad. And when you start to delve into it, and where we are currently, and I spoke to you before this, like we're traveling around, and when I relinquished control and said to the universe, right, I know what I need to do, you know what I need to do, allow me to now sit and surrender, and you to just bring it to me. My whole world, really, because that surrender and that letting go of control is a big thing for people, because all our lives we've either been controlled or we've been in control with everything. It's such a hard pattern to break. It's really friggin' hard. Like, it's not easy to go, okay, well, I'm going to relinquish control now. Because the ego also goes, oh, no, you're fucking not. Let's go.
Yup. Oh, yeah. And it's like, some people, they'll go into surrender, letting go of control, and then just go straight into that feminine polarity. And so we've got to learn, how do we be masculine and feminine balanced here, being surrendered whilst taking inspired action every day, staying grounded in this reality and not swing. Control, like highly masculine, toxic, hugely surrendered. Yeah.
I think that also is what happened with people when they have their awakening too. They go like so into the spiritual realm and they feel it because it feels really good. And then they're like stuck in there and they're like, no, hang on a minute, you've actually got to do some of this other stuff out here. That's So it's the same thing, isn't it? So how would you say for somebody to bring in the balance of being in their masculine and feminine? What sort of things would you share?
The practice that I share with my clients, and everybody can, is like, you meditate and you connect, and I see and visualize the left-hand side of my body as the feminine essence, the masculine as the right-hand side, and just you go meditate and connect with each side in that way. And I think that's the kind of feminine spiritual way to do that. And then how that gets grounded in your reality is that needs to be reflected in your week. So your habits, what are the habits and needs of your feminine? And then what are the habits and needs of your masculine? And how, if you were to do a review of your week, how much of your time are you actually spending in your masculine versus your feminine? And that there is how you ground it. Because like, actually the whole world is hyper masculine. So if you live in accordance with your neighbor, you'll probably end up sick, unhealthy, and controlled, and in an unhappy place. So you don't live in accordance like your neighbor does. Like, you're going to look like a lazy piece of shit to them because you're actually going to be living healthy.
It's the thing you do, because you do less. It's so, anyway, Kara, that's just, oh my God.
Yeah. So if like, I don't look at my emails. I mean, I only work 1 day a week in my business, and I help everybody to create that reality. Like, you do not have to overcomplicate your life to earn enjoying your fucking life. Like, we are born here to have fun and play and love and laugh and fucking enjoy life.
Yeah, totally.
And I see that on your face. You're just beaming because like you're living that.
It's true. It's like, I used to be so in my masculine. I was brought up with a single mum. And she was like, you need to be tough, you need to go, you need to work hard. My programming around money was really poor, like scarcity, poverty, fucking one-on-one victim struggle. So I was like, all the time. And I was also always working because I felt I had to prove myself. Yeah, I had to, and then when I started proving myself, I freaked out. So it was like, so there was a lot of things that I came against. And I think when I really took complete ownership of my life and realized, and you touched on this when you were talking about a little bit about, you sort of like talked a little about beliefs, you take on everybody else's beliefs, because we're programmed by the television, we're programmed by everything external, we're chucked all these different things, and we're taught to hustle. You gotta hustle, you gotta keep hustling, man. If you want to meet those goals, you gotta fucking hustle. And you end up burning out, and that's what happened to me. I ended up completely burning out, and as did you. So it's really beautiful to hear you say that, you work 1-2 days a week, that's it. You don't need to have that forced energy, because once you set the wheels in motion, I'm making more money now working less and traveling around than what I did when I was sitting there tapping on my computer working fucking hard. I just had my record month last month. I don't
It's
speak about
incredible.
money often because to me it's not about money, but that's the exchange
Yes.
right now that I was needing. So it's interesting, isn't it? It really, really is
Yeah.
interesting. So how would you tie the sacred sexuality into this? Because we haven't actually spoken much about that on any of my podcasts. I'd love to
Oh,
talk.
amazing. Yeah. So really, sacred sexuality is like, how much are we embodying this pleasure? So this is an awesome segue. So how much do I allow myself to receive in life? You know, my own pleasure. How much do I fucking enjoy living in this body, being with my emotions, transmuting them, and being a powerful creator? And so if you're somebody who's out of your body, you hustle, you're disassociated, or you're even in this spiritual little bubble, like I was in that too, and you find it hard to be grounded in this reality, your sacred sexuality is, how do you bring your spirit into the body? It's also, how do you bring spirit into pleasure? How do you bring spirit into abundance and money? And this is one of the things I'm most passionate about, is like, let's get rid of all the shame, guilt, and judgment around the animalistic and the material aspects of society. And that's actually all our sacral energy center. So all the conditioning we've all got around our pleasure, our power, money, all the blocks you've got to money, pleasure, you can transmute all of them by connecting into your sacred sexuality practice each and every day, and seeing if you're somebody who struggles with control, like we've been talking to. Well, if you can allow yourself to release that control through the orgasm, or through just even a breast massage, and you can, that's actually how I learned to release control. There was no mindset tip. Actually, it's about being about me just slowing down, doing an essential oil massage every day, and allowing myself to connect into the absolute subtleties of the feelings, the sensations, the pleasure of this body. And in all of that, the conditioning that's there to disconnect, to override our limit of how much we can do in a day, to override, I need to prove, I need to hustle, all of that. If you actually really deeply connect into what orgasm and sexual energy feels like, it's the embodiment of what true surrender and receptivity to life is.
And
So it's like you're training the body. Yeah.
is this for men and women, or is it
Yeah.
just men and women?
It's for men as well. So for men, if they could in the shower, the way that they can incorporate this, men and women, is the easiest way to incorporate this is make it a part of your current day. So when you're in the shower each morning and night, you want to actually in the shower close your eyes and just start to breathe and connect into, maybe place a hand on your heart, one on your hara, this is or womb for women, in your belly, and just take a few deep breaths and just start to actually bring, it's like you imagine you were like kind of up and out above your head, and then you just want to bring and see all your energy going into your head, and just ask yourself, bring a question or your day into your mind and go, how do I think about today? How did it go for me? And then you bring your energy down into your heart, taking a few big breaths into your heart. How did I feel about how today went today? You know, like, what am I grateful for? Then bringing all your energy down into your hara and your womb. Okay, great. So now with all that I've learned from today, now what I know I need to do tomorrow or the coming week. That's just going to be a grounding, centering practice to get you into your body. And then you just want to allow yourself to know what it feels like in the next moment, to feel all of the water dripping down on your body, and to just feel what it's like to be without having to do anything. And that there, you're going to feel very little subtle frictions, and like all the energy is going to be pulsing, and you might feel pleasure in different areas. And it's like, wow, I get to just feel, I just get to receive the pleasure that's in my body. And as you grow in the capacity there,
Yeah.
yep. Because often what we do is we overcomplicate life and make things way harder. We overwork because we feel bad for feeling good.
Yeah.
And where that comes from is in the deep sexual conditioning of not being able to receive the pleasure, of feeling judgment and hate. That need to control my body was an eating disorder because I was disconnected. I wasn't able to connect to the feelings in my body. So this sounds like a very simple practice, but when you get out of the shower, then you're going to look at the mirror, and then you look at the mirror, and this works with neuroplasticity. You're going to look at the mirror, and this is quite confronting. You're going to look at the mirror, and then you're going to touch different areas of your body, and just let all your body know in different areas what you love about them. Just going to say, wow, thank you. I'm grateful for this and that.
Some
And
people that would be really freaking confronting. Even I think if
yeah,
I did it in certain depending on when my cycle was, it'd be like, whoa,
yeah.
phew.
And that's the foundation of how you can bring this sacred sexuality practice into your life, and you will start to, like everything we've spoken about today, the surrender, the control, the hustling, I promise just doing this will change your life. If you committed to do this 30 days it will change your life.
Wow, that I love that. That is so freaking good because often people like because my retreats are about reconnecting. They're about disconnecting to reconnect.
Love that. Love that.
And a lot of people like they don't know how to connect to themselves because they're so connected to everything external and they're looking for the external things to reconnect them, to fulfill them, to as you say, bring them pleasure, bring them play, bring them happiness, when it's completely an inside job.
Yes,
Love that
100%.
practice. I'm going to commit to that for 30 days. I will report back to you, I promise.
Yes, please do. Please do.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I
Yeah.
think, for like me, like you, for someone that's been through a lot of sexual trauma, and it's really hard for me, I disconnected the bottom half of my body because also when I was 22, I had to have a hysterectomy. And I was like, damn you caused me so many fucking problems. I'd been molested like 3 times. It was a really, of course, that was the stuff I now teach, the trauma of sexual, but that's, that's my
Yeah.
path. And I don't feel bad about any of it anymore. There's no feelings. I've just connected the emotion attached to it. But, I really didn't like that part of me. So reconnecting, a lot of people with sexual trauma find it very hard to connect to that part because I blamed her for actual bringing me all the anger and everything that I had, and I didn't know how to be sexual. So it's that would be a really confronting for practice for anybody that has had sexual trauma. So
Yep.
that's I
Yeah.
beautiful, like a beautiful practice, a real gentle one too, and of course with the water because the water's cleansing.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I think people have a big misconception, they have a big misconception that sacred sexuality is about connecting with the genitals. And there's so much more to connecting to your sacred sexuality before you even go there. Like that, connecting with the genitals is like a advanced practice, I believe. And before we even do that, first we have to even just touch our body. What does that feel like? And I know from my own experience that actually was really freaking scary at the start. I had no feeling in my body. I was completely numb. When I was on that medication for 6-7 years, I didn't feel emotions for 7 years. I couldn't even cry. I mean, I used to be the woman who I couldn't cry even if I wanted to because the medication was so strong. Now the people that know me, I cry every day. I'm so sensitive. I'm so empathetic, and so I want you to know that everybody that's like, what, I can't do that. I was the most masculine, armored, numb person that is out there. And if I can go from this to this, anybody can do this. And so you need to be really gentle and slow with yourself to just slowly connect back in, go very gentle with this practice. And that's really where you start with it, because with the people that have got sexual abuse trauma, they'll swing either two ways. I went hypersexual. So I became went sex addiction. So my trauma was in bringing my sexuality back in my body and making it just for me. And that's what enabled me to be celibate for 3 years in order to learn that. But other people swing to the opposite polarity, which is where they go, I'm not allowed to be sexual because sexual and being pleasure means I'm going to get hurt. So this practice helps us to just learn how to, I guess, go in a healthy spectrum with it.
And I also use sex for control. Funny that. I thought
Yep.
if I'm good at sex, they're going to start, because I had lots of abandonment as well. So I,
Yep.
bring on some more shit. So, mine was control. And if I was good at sex, they would stay around. And my favorite saying was, I've never had a one night stand because they always come back. Ah!
Oh my gosh, that's the best.
Isn't that fucking brilliant? I didn't get a one night stand, they always come back for more. Oh my god. So, and it's just so interesting the ways that you go. So what tell me some more of the beautiful the sacred secrets. I love the way that you just shared your story, because then people that, like, you look at like Samantha where she is now and you think, oh my god, this girl's got it. You can tell she's just done her practice because she's all lathered up. She's got a little oil going on. She agrees it. And you said, you used to be here and now you're here and it took you here. And that's the sort of thing people hear, because a lot of people get on and go, oh yeah, this is who I am now and this is where I've got here. Well, no, you haven't seen the fucking struggle that I went to get from here to here.
Yeah.
And it's part of the journey. This is the big thing for me. It doesn't have to be a big, huge, messy, emotional thing. You can do this gradually. You can do it on your own pace. But the biggest thing is taking that step forward and actually starting to do it.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I think that, you want to make sure that you learn from the right people, because it's a really, there's a lot of toxic spaces out there around doing this sexuality piece. So you want to learn from the right people. And, I think one of the healing parts around sexual abuse is actually finding a man healer, or having some way that you can heal that the masculine distrust. And so I've done a lot of work with female healers, but whether it's a partner or a male friend or something, there needs to be a way where you learn how to platonically relate to a man and he never crosses that boundary for you. And that has been such a big part of that journey for me as well, to realize that men can be trusted.
Absolutely. Oh my God, yeah, because I did not. Yeah, I did not like the male species at all. And boundaries, that's another big thing which just opens up a whole new, because boundaries, that when you know your needs come your boundaries, right? Because that's
right.
What sit in. Yeah.
Yep. And a big part actually of my journey has been in owning my anger. So on a soul level, I've got an imprint that I hate men. The reason I'm a successful entrepreneur is because men have hurt me on a soul level so much, like not only in this lifetime, but in many. And so I've had to befriend my anger. And as I've befriended my anger, then that's where the boundaries come in. So if a man was to do something disrespectful to me in a street, I now know if he does this, I'm going to respond in that way. If it becomes to this degree, I will respond in this way. If it's to this degree, I have no problem saying fuck off. Yeah. And the nice girl in us goes, oh, I just need to be nice. I just need to be. Now that's like the worst thing. A woman needs to be connected to that compassionate part of her, but she also needs to be connected to the fiercest fuck warrior that has no problem saying like fuck off, because that keeps us safe. So if you've been told that anger is a bad thing, you want to befriend anger in a healthy way where it goes from projected anger to integrated anger, and then it's going to be a healthy connection to your voice. And you need your voice to stand up and speak up for your boundaries and keep you safe.
Yeah. And I fucking love that, because people are like, oh, love and light. And no, stand up and speak your freaking truth, woman. Stand up for your beliefs. And it was interesting because I did explosive sexual healing. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Oh fuck! It was full. I'll tell you exactly about it when we go on. But it was huge, and it was basically releasing my anger and my hurt and raging through orgasm. And kicking and screaming and all that sort of thing. And that's why, and the biggest thing I think when you talk about anger is, for me, anger is the most misunderstood emotion. It is the most beautiful emotion. Same as crying. Crying is so beautiful. If a lot of us were learnt to just sit in our tears when we were younger, we wouldn't hold what we hold inside. If we're allowed to rage and we wanted to rage and not stopped from actually expressing our emotions, we wouldn't have a lot of things trapped. And for me, like, I deal a lot with emotional trauma, not with the physical. I do a lot of mental, but like removing that energetic emotion from someone's body, and this being a shaman, it disconnects the pathway of you actually reacting in certain ways. So it's and I love that, like expressing that anger is so big. Like, let it out, like scream into a fucking pillow, bash the shit. I like to drive my car and just go
beware the road at that time.
I did it once and I had my window down. Fuck, it was funny. People are like, I went, oh shit, hang on a minute.
Oh god. That's hilarious.
Oh, so funny. Yeah, but I absolutely love that. So tell me more about your movement. Tell me about this movement that you have to 1 million men and women to embody their emperor or empress in 2030. I fucking love that. I love it.
So yeah, it's a big number, and it's really about what really drives this movement is like, I really do see the people that have been through adversity, have been through mental illness, trauma. I see them as the best people that I would love to have with the most money in the world, with the most exposure, who are out there making a difference. And so my role is to help you to be able to feel really confident in who you are, discover your true self, own and value your gifts, so that then you can reach more people. Because I think one of the things that's holding a lot of spiritual people back is that they don't value money. So they want to make a difference, but they're not valuing some of the things we need to value if they want to reach and impact more people. So that's really what the movement's all about. It's like anybody who feels like they're part of the Great Awakening, that they want to freaking rise up and like actually create a Nelson Mandela style of leadership revolution, and start to be that. So, start to be the light, start to be that, and they don't want to do it alone. So they want to be a part of a community. They want that unconventional support of business strategy. The self-expression work is the sacred sexuality piece. And then the spiritual connection, in refining, strengthening, and just not doing it from a place of inadequacy of because they even need it. It's because that's the most genuine and fulfilling way they want to spend their life and help people.
That's their purpose work. It's their soul contract.
That's right.
Mind. So many of us signed that book. I must admit that, like it was a couple of months ago, I sat there and went, why did I sign this contract? What was I fucking thinking? Seriously, really?
Yes.
So many people need it right now. There really, really is. And the more that it can awaken, the more it can do what we're doing. Unfortunately, at the moment, that green stuff is our energy exchange that we have to have. If it was hugs, it'd be great. If it was exchanging food, it'd be fantastic. But I think I love what you said, to get over that hurdle of, okay, this green stuff does feel dirty, it does feel yucky, but guess what? We need it to do our work. And, when you can really build a different relationship with money around that, it's just such a different impact. It's a huge impact. And you just watch it flow. When you connect, like I actually am birthing a new healing modality. And when I connected to that about 3 weeks ago, this is why I had the biggest month, because I connected to my soul purpose. And the universe went, oh yeah, bitch, here you go. And it's just like, okay. So I've got no excuses now. Thank you very much, universe. But it does. It sets everything in motion. And those three pillars that you spoke about, are just so important for us to be able to hold the container, that sacred, beautiful container, to be able to help others for what we need to do. So 100%. I freaking love that. It's brilliant. Yeah. And all Samantha's details are below. Make sure you're following her. Make sure you're getting submerged with her stuff. Message her to get that practice, because I just think, oh my goodness, that would just be a huge game changer. And I know my sexual side was the last thing I dealt with. Was the last. I've always got more stuff, obviously, but the last big thing that was really putting a massive impact that I had to start cracking open is a more of a better way than saying it, because I've got heaps of things, I'm sure. Like every day's a school day. So, thank you so much for coming on and sharing what you've shared. And you gave so many helpful tips. What is the one thing you'd like to leave people with listening to this?
Start before you're ready.
Yeah, you probably already started, but you just don't know.
Like walk, because there's always going to be a next stage of life. There's a next level of growth. So even if you've got a level of success up until now, there's probably a part inside of you that wants to be and do more. And just walk before you're ready, and the universe will catch up and you'll be provided for. Yeah.
I love that. I love it. That's so friggin' true. It has been an absolute just joy. I reckon we need to do another one so we can delve deeper into a few of the things. Absolutely.
That'd be great. I think so.
We might want to book an extra 15 minutes before we start, though.
I think so.
Thank you so much, Goddess, for sharing your wisdom and sharing your knowledge and coming in and just being a part of this movement that I have with helping as many people as I can as well. So beautiful to have you here, and sending you so much love.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel and help us grow the community by sharing it with your friends. I am your host, Leisa Nadler, and this is The Art of Quantum Healing.